guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Victoria Ayodele Fash. If it's the first time here, thank you so much for joining me. If you're a subscriber, I love you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for always coming back. Okay, so I'm really excited to be doing a sit-down video today. I haven't done one in about a month now. Yes, I know I've been putting out videos, but those are videos I recorded a while ago. So today I actually have been reflecting a lot. I don't know, I've just been reflecting a lot on my life, some of the decisions I made, looking back. Oh, by the way, we celebrated our 4 years anniversary in our marriage yesterday, right? What's today? I think today is the 8th. I'm correct. Oh, today is the 9th. So it's a couple of days ago. We celebrated one year. Okay. We celebrated 4 years married, and I woke up this morning, had a lot of gratitude in my heart, and also, I was reflecting a lot on, the journey that has been our marriage, basically. And today I want to share with you some of the things that I'm grateful I knew, and some of the things I wish I knew, some of the decisions that I wish I never took in earlier in the marriage, and some that I'm grateful that I did. Okay, so let's get into that. So the first thing that I'll talk about is we'll talk about the good thing, right? And if I'm to go back, or if I'm to see the younger me, earlier in my marriage, I think one of the things that I would tell her is, you made the right choice. You made the right choice. And the reason is because I remember when my husband approached me on Instagram. You guys, if you're an OG on this channel, you already know the story. If you don't know, the story is on YouTube somewhere. And I remember when he approached me and we started talking and all, one of the major almost red flag was, the age difference between us. And also, I felt like he was older. He knows a lot of things. Yes, I've never dated anyone my age, my age group. I've always been attracted to people older than me. But, it's one thing to be dating people older than you. It's another thing to be spending the rest of your life and actually be married to one. And I remember that was one of it was almost like one of a pushback for me, but not necessarily, right? Because again, I was attracted to him, right? But it wasn't necessarily about me, because to be honest, it did not really bother me like that, because again, I've always been attracted to people that are older than me. It was mostly about the people around me. I remember the first person that I opened up, well, not the first person I told, but the person I actually told and showed my husband's picture to. Very amazing lady. I love her to death. But I remember when she saw his picture, the first thing she said was, "Oh, don't you think this guy is too old for you?" And that it's like, when something is like tattooed to your memory. So today I can still remember feeling, am I sure? But eventually I realized that there were more things that were more important than age. A lot of things we connected on, and most importantly, because our values aligned, our faith aligned, were a lot of things that we wanted that were aligned. And I realized that, okay, this is not necessarily an issue. I found the right person. But what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of opinions around me, a lot of young couples, especially the two of them. They are young, doing TikTok, doing Instagram together, doing all those things that on some level there were things that I was looking forward to when I get married. But being married now, I am so grateful that I did not allow myself to be distracted by some of the things that I saw with other people's marriage and other people's opinion and ideas about the age difference between us, or if he looks young, or if he'll be hip enough, and all of that. I'm grateful to God that I married the man I married. If I'm to do it all over again, I will not change a thing, because to be honest, I'm grateful. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, so I would tell her that I remember during my wedding, you don't always say that, if you feel afraid during your wedding, maybe it's a red flag. I don't think so, right? Because I remember my wedding day, I still had some doubts in me. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? I wish I could go back to her on that day and say, you're about to make the best decision of your life. It's been, this is we just started a journey into our 5th year of marriage. And I would say it's not all been rosy. We've definitely had a lot of ups and downs. But in all, the person I married has stayed true to himself. He has stayed true to our marriage. He has stayed true to his commitment to me. And that's always amazing. I'm telling you, the other day, I was on Instagram and I saw a post about a woman talking about the husband cheating. And I see this all the time because of the pages I follow on marriage and all. And I remember that day I just looked at my husband and I said, thank you for not cheating on me. Not to say that is something that you expect people to do, but I can't imagine the mental stress, the emotional trauma, a lot of things that people go through, and the fact that, and you see people that are young in marriage, it's not even people that are older. It's not necessarily people that are older, right? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years married, and they're already facing so much. I am so glad that that's not my story. I am so glad that, that I did not allow the opinions of people, to sway me, and I married the best man. Okay. All right. And then the other thing that I would say that I wish I knew earlier is sweat the small things. Now, there's a saying that don't sweat the small things, or let the small things go. They don't really matter and all. And I think that earlier, in my marriage, just in the, because, when you get married, you're both different. You're trying to discover new things about each other. And before you know what is happening, you're trying so hard to maintain the peace in the house that you are letting things, or you think you are overlooking things. And then you realize that you weren't really overlooking them. They were somewhere stored in your heart. Right now, I'm not saying that you make an issue out of every little things. I'm not saying that you argue about every little things. I said that's definitely something that I wish that I didn't do, right? Sometimes early in the marriage, but talk about the things that bothers you, right? I realized that a lot of times, because I did not want to, like for instance, maybe we've had a month of peace, no arguments, everything has been good, and then something happens, and and I'm not talking about something that just happens, maybe something that happens once, that happened once, and you start to make an issue out of it. No, I mean little things that the person does that irritates you, that makes you unhappy, but it's something that is done consistently, but they don't know, or maybe they know but they keep doing it and you keep overlooking it. The truth is, the little things become the big things. It's the little things, and a lot of times it's the little thing that eventually becomes the bigger things. The little things that you ignore that eventually causes a bigger issue, right? So I wish I knew then, because now, I mean, if I see something I don't like, we talk about it. We don't argue, we don't fight, like we used to then. Yeah, that's the next thing, but I tell him, if my husband, what's the latest thing he's complaining about me? Or maybe I use a cutting board and I don't, because it's in the bedroom, I don't want to walk all the way to the kitchen to throw it away, and I keep it to the following morning. My husband doesn't like it, irritates him, right? Or he uses his floss and it irritates me and stuff like that. Little things like that. You would think, oh, it's just that small. But if you don't say it, if the other person does not know that this thing bothers you, they would not change, right? Now, it doesn't mean that if you've said it and they know that this thing bothers you and they keep doing it, not necessarily to spite you, because that's one thing you need to know. No person that loves themselves would want to do anything to spite the other person. Sometimes they're just tired, sometimes they forget and all of that. You always give grace, right? But don't sweep things under the carpet. That's what I mean. Like, don't sweep things under the carpet, because they always come out to haunt you at the end of the day. I wish there are a lot of things then, that I didn't sweep, that I actually had a conversation about. And that brings me to the the second thing I wish I knew. And that would be that don't always approach things you don't like, with so much passion. Now, let me explain. If you know me, when we disagree, you would notice that my voice is usually high. It's not necessarily because I'm angry, it's just how I talk. When I'm passionate about something, the other day on Sunday, we're having devotional in church, and I was the one preaching. With my friend, we're both Akuna. We did a video the other time together, and we both handled the devotional in church. And we're both talking and just talking about the devotional, in the church. And then I don't know, all of a sudden I started talking about I don't know what the topic was about, facing tough times and how God always has a plan. And before you know what's happening, I was talking with so much passion that when I was done, Akuna was like, "Sorry, did somebody annoy?" That's how I talk. And one thing, when feelings are high, especially when you're having disagreements in marriage, sometimes the way you present a situation often determines how it's going to end up, right? So sometimes when I don't like something, I remember earlier in my marriage, I used to be so scared that if I don't address this now and address it, this is going to be the rest of my life. And the issue is that in itself is not bad, but the issue is always when I go ahead to address it, it's always like, we need to sort it. It has to stop right now. There is no grace to give the person room for adjustment, right? So then I remember I used to be so scared, and that if I don't talk about this, it will keep doing this, it will keep hurting me and all. But now I know enough to know that, right? The way you approach an issue will most likely determine the outcome. The way you approach the issue. So there are times that, my husband will do something and, it's just the little things. And you just call him and say, babe, I didn't want to say anything the other day because, I didn't want to spoil the good time we're having, but I would really appreciate if, next time this and this and that. And I think the more we grow really in marriage, some of these things, the truth is some things in marriage, in your own marriage, not in marriage generally, in your own marriage, you would learn as you grow with each other, right? There were a lot of things, talks we used to have then that would quickly, it would become about the person and not about the thing, right? So instead of me to say that I don't like how, you moved that thing, you didn't put it in the right place. Instead of me to say that, I would say, you are always doing this. You are disorganized. You don't know how to put this, So you see, it's not about what he did now. It's about who I am saying he is. And most times when you attack a person like that, it becomes a bigger thing, right? So I wish I had more maturity in how I handled disagreement during this period. Definitely we learn more every day. I was saying that earlier in a marriage, I think we'd fight every single month. And I think this year I was just reflecting again and I was like, how many times did we fight this year? And I couldn't even remember one time in the entire year that we had like an argument. Not once. Never happened before. I think last year was better. Last year maybe once. And of course we're doing long distance for most of it. So anyways, you can actually disagree without it becoming, an issue. And I think we have both grown a lot, not just myself, even my husband, we've grown a lot in that, which brings me to one of the things I'm grateful for. The second thing, which is learning to put God first together. Now, it's always good for you to have your personal relationship with God. When me and my husband got married, we had our routine. My husband had a different way of praying. I had a different way of praying. Every once in a month, we come together and we pray. Sometimes we forget, but we had good relationship with God. I had a very good relationship. My husband had his own kind of relationship with God. Even then, I used to disagree that it was good enough because I was always comparing his time with God with mine, which is, really stupid. But I remember when I came into this country, one of the things that really helped us, I was talking about how, no arguments and all, and how we talk about things. One of the major things that I wish we had implemented earlier in our marriage is, time together with God. I'm telling you, that changes everything. It changes everything. I'm telling you, it changes everything. So it's not me waking up, because I remember then, most of the times when I'm having my devotional with God and me and my husband, we are fighting, I would not be able to pray. And then, most of my prayer is like telling God, you have to change him, you have to do stuff like that. But recently, one thing I've learned is that when you two of you find time often to meet with God together, to actually pray, and I'm not talking about, we do that, in the morning when he's going to work or I'm going to work, we all dance together and we do a very quick, 2-3 minutes prayer and all. No, but I'm talking about a time, even if it's once in a week, that you dedicate an hour to the very least to pray over yourself, pray over your marriage, pray for your siblings, your family, and all the things bothering you, and also to share the word of God together, and also to talk about the things that, maybe happened during the week that you'd like to improve on, and all of that. We started that this last year of our marriage, and that changed everything, right? So you remember talking about how you bring up things. It's usually after the prayer, and I'm like, there's something that happened this week. I really would like if you do that. Remember, we've just prayed. Our heart has been prepared. And one of the prayer points we always pray, especially when we're praying together, is, God help me to be a better spouse for my husband, and help him to be a better spouse for me, and all of that. So I realized that, that really changes everything. Oh yeah, I remember, once this last year, I said no. Now I remember once that we had an argument like that. It wasn't really that bad, but yeah, that was we're going to London, right? Yeah, that was when we went to London. Yeah, I remember that one time. But it wasn't like we're fighting or anything. It was just, you did something, or you said something, or you didn't. I can't remember what caused the issue. But even in that, we had a prayer, we're about to go to church, and we're able to sort things out, right? So always set time together to pray. See, the Bible says that one shall chase 1,000 and two shall chase 10,000. It is true. When you come together in unity spiritually, a lot of things change. You realize that. I'm telling you, try that. Do a test for 6 months, that you guys once a week, we have ours once every week, you dedicate time to praise, to pray, to put your burdens, to talk. What did God speak to you on this week? What do you think has been, in your heart? What does the word say about it? That changes everything. And I'm being honest, right? And then So yeah, that's one thing that, you know, I wish we implemented earlier in the marriage. But like I said, some of these things you learn as you grow, really. Now, another thing that, you know, I wish actually that I would say I'm grateful that I did earlier, and it's something I still do, is don't compare your marriage with any other person's marriage. The milestones that you're able to achieve, the milestones that your friend's husband or your friend's wife is able to achieve, they are different people. Life is in stages, to be honest. You know, learn not to compare your marriage with other people's marriage, the milestones you've been able to attain, you know, in 1 year or in 2 years. There are people that, you know, you got married before, and within a year, you know, they have gotten their house, they've gotten their cars and everything. And then you start to wonder, why is my own different? Why are we not able to achieve all of these things? I remember one of the biggest things I really wanted when we just got married was to get a car. Like, for some reason, we just could not. We just couldn't, you know. And I'm like, God, every married new couples that were around me, you know, had a car, and I really wanted it. And especially as a content creator, you know, I don't know, I just really wanted us to have a car because every other person around me had one. Every new couple had one around me at the time. And for some reason, our resources, our financial resources was not just adding up. We couldn't afford it, right? And I remember now, like a year or so later, when I moved to the US, and then the Holy Spirit said, what would you have done with the car now if you had one, right? It wasn't needed, right? So to be honest, don't compare. You don't know the plan. As at then, I felt like, God, not having a car was like the worst thing. But now, you know, it would do, what will happen to the car? You know, we still, because the plan was never for us to stay in. I didn't even know at the time that I wouldn't even stay in Abuja for that long, but I didn't know that we'll have to relocate. I had no idea, but God knew all along, right? So yeah, I'm so glad that I did not compare, right? But I think I also did you know, the car issue. But also, apart from that, there are a lot of things that, you know, you would think that, oh, when I get married, we'll be able to do this and that, and you're unable to at some time during, you know, earlier in the marriage. And then you see people that, you know, they just got married yesterday and they're already having all those things that you're having. You realize that your journey is different. God's plan for your life is different. God's plan for your marriage is different. And once you embrace that, you start to overlook certain things. And I think that I'm grateful that I did not allow that to affect my marriage, my relationship with my husband and all. But, you know, it's still something that, you know, in a few, very, very few ways I did. And I wish I could go back to change that. But again, we'll grow and we'll learn. Okay. All right. And then one thing that I also wish I could go back to tell my younger married self is take it one step at a time. It will get better. It really does get better. Usually when you get married, the first year, the second year, and, you know, you're facing through some challenges and all, especially even maritally, you know, trying to understand each other, trying to understand how to work with each other, especially if one person is facing financial crisis, job issue, and all of that. It takes a toll on the marriage, right? And sometimes you start to question if you made the right decision. You start to question if you should have waited. You start to question if you married the right person, and all. You start to forget every other thing that made you choose the person, and every other thing that made the person choose you. You start to question your decision. And it's true, every marriage goes through that. And there were times that, you know, I went through that also, right? Just because a lot of things were not just adding up. And at a point, I felt like I got married too quickly. I should have waited a bit and made some money, or, you know, and all of that. But, you know, I wish I could go back to that person and tell her that it gets better. That every season that you pass or that you face or that you go through in marriage, they are building up to something better. They are building up to what God has. And as long as you have God in that home, as long as you have God in that marriage, there is always better for you, right? And every journey, every debt, every crooked way and everything is leading you to God's plan, right? It's not always a smooth journey. Marriage is not a smooth journey. Anybody that tells you that is lying, right? Or they've not gotten to their season. Marriage comes in seasons. There are seasons that would be amazing. There are seasons that will be a little bit rough. But you see, what is most important is that you have God and you have each other. Which brings me to the other thing that I am so grateful, you know, that we did, or we had earlier in our marriage, is we always put each other first. Always. You've heard me say it here all along. My desire in life is that my husband succeed. His desire in life is that I succeed, right? So we are always working to ensure that each person is the best version of themselves. When you put yourself first, it saves you from a lot, because there are a lot of things that influences your marriage. There are a lot of things that would want want to influence your marriage, that want to influence your relationship with each other, right? But when you realize that at the end of the day, I'm not here to please everybody. I'm not here to please, any other person. As long as the two of us are on the same page, we're good. We are good. We'll be good. Everything will be fine. And I'm so glad, because I see a lot of things, online, and people talking about how, oh, my husband or my wife prioritizes their siblings or their job or their this and that over me. I'm so glad that we learned earlier to always make sure that above everything else, our marriage is first, right? I could be in the United States right now. I could finish my master's and get a good job. And my husband could still be in Nigeria waiting for, him to come. Or he could meet me and not have a job when he gets there. A lot of things could happen, right? Because I'm trying to focus on my career, right? But when I realized that, okay, this wasn't working out, I thought about, oh, we might have to wait one extra year for him to come. Or even if he comes, there is nothing for him to do. Eventually, it will become frustrating, and then we have to wait a few more years for me to be able to get, to be able to get the right visa for him to be able to work. It's going to be a lot of mess. So, what is the next thing? Because at the end of the day, for my career, even my extended family, my academics, everything is secondary. My marriage is my primary assignment on earth, right? When the two of you, and now this is where it gets tricky. If only one person sees it that way, it's always a trouble. But when the two of you see it that way, that it's first our marriage and every other thing else follows, our career aligns to our marriage. So I'm not pursuing career and then hoping that my marriage follows. No, it's my marriage first. So it determines now if I get a job in Australia, right? Or no, in in Ukraine, right? And it's a really good job with good pay, but I have to take my family over there and the safety of my family and all. It starts to shape some of the opportunities that you take and some of the opportunities you don't take. Anyone that will put my family at risk, I cannot do it, right? So it's that when the two of you see your relationship with each other as the priority, it saves a lot. And it has really saved us from a lot of things, right? A lot of influences, a lot of things that people think you should do and you should have and all. It doesn't matter. As long as I have him, as long as he's happy, as long as I am happy, we are good, right? So yeah, I wish I knew earlier then that I think I knew, but I just felt like I could define what it means, right? Let me tell you what it is. I wish I knew earlier that marriage is about service. It's you serving the other person. Now, with the whole feminism, we live in a society that celebrates selfishness, to be honest. We tell, oh yes, submit to your husband, but you don't have to really submit. Oh yeah, you don't have to be, I don't want to get into all of that, not in this video, but I would say that I went into marriage with the aim to submit, but also to have some kind of autonomy over myself, right? So everything boils down to who you choose to marry. If you choose to marry a person that would love you, that would, put you first and all, submitting is not a problem, because you know that at the end of the day, this person seeks your interest, right? But it took me a few years into marriage to realize that I am really here to serve. I'm here to serve him. He is here to serve me, right? So I feel like it goes back to putting each other first. But apart from just putting each other first, it's like I'm here to serve you. He's here to serve me. Even when it's not necessarily the best time, I have to make myself available because I'm here to serve. Marriage is service, and I'm learning that every day. And even apart from learning, I'm putting that, I'm remembering that. And even when it feels inconvenient, I'm here to serve, right? And the final thing that I would say that I'm really glad we did, especially earlier in our marriage, is being intentional about dating each other, not forgetting to date. It's so important. We always say that the stages of getting married is, you become friends, you date, you court, you become married. But the truth is, dating should never end. Dating should happen in every stage. Dating is, we take ourselves out for dates. We make ourselves happy. We'll go for vacation and all of that. We've not done as much as I wanted to this year. So we planned, if you watched our video, getting into our third year of marriage, you'd know that, there are a lot of things that we planned to do this year, to travel out of the country and all of that we didn't get to do. But even without that, we traveled a lot within the United Kingdom. We traveled to Liverpool, we traveled to London, we've traveled to go on vacation this year, even though it was within the United Kingdom and all, which we will go out. It's not just a priority for us right now. So yeah, prioritizing that. I'm so glad that we did, because I'm telling you, I think on an anniversary, we went out on a date and we talked about, the next phase of our marriage, the 5th year, what we want to see, what are some of the things that we have on the horizon, on on the pipeline? What are things that were, it just helps, to be honest. There's certain things that you will not talk about if you don't go out on dates. And I've come to realize that. So be intentional about dating. And dating is not necessarily just going out. It's buying gifts for each other. You know, it might be as little as, oh, my husband is scrolling and he sees this watch and he noticed that my watch is sport. And this is something that, you know, has happened, and he buys one for me. Or I see a sneakers, I tell him I really like the sneakers, and he sends me money. That's what dating is, right? So making each other happy, being there for each other, submitting yourself to one another. Those are things that I wish I'd done more earlier, but I'm really glad that, you know, we really implemented, because that has really helped us to, you know, build our marriage on a really good foundation. And, you know, above all, the last thing I'll say in this video is God above all. The principles, the values of your marriage should always be based on the word of God, always be based on what God requires of you as a husband, what God requires of me as a wife. And yeah, that's it. I don't really know how this video went, because it became, oh, the things I'm grateful, the things I'm, anyways. I hope that in everything you guys learned one thing or two from this video. I wanted to ask that, I just felt like asking, you know, what is that thing that you want advice on in your life, that you'd like me, you know, to give you advice on? I don't know why, it just popped in my head before I did this video. There's something that you've really been struggling with and you really need advice on. You can send me a DM at victoria.a.fash on Instagram, or you can leave a comment and I will get back to you. Okay, we'll do a video to address it by the help of God. Well, I hope this has blessed you as much as it has blessed me, and thank you guys so very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, I still remain Victoria. I really fash. I'll see you guys. Okay, bye. Bye.